right, wrestling fans. Mid-card mana here. You got Sam Keola, the Wrestling Connoisseur, and the always present Loose Cannon right here. A little blue today. So we'll see how the Loose Cannon does throughout this thing. I'm going to give you some Backlash predictions today. At least for what the card that I know is. I haven't watched the last SmackDown. But I figure it should probably still be the same. First off, Carmella versus Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair inducting her rematch clause. I really don't expect the title to change hands here. Everybody knows how vocal I've been on the whole Asuka, Charlotte, Carmella thing. I think WWE went about it completely ass backwards. Carmella's the champ. Asuka is nothing now. And Charlotte is still Charlotte. So I don't see anything really major happening in this matchup except Carmella being cemented as the champion by defeating Charlotte. I expect this match to be pretty brief, and it kind of needs to establish Carmella as the champion, though. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not 100% sold on it, but it is what it is. What do you think, Loose Cannon? I'm glad you agree. Next match we most recently added that I know of from Raw was the Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I have a huge problem with this recent push of Bobby Lashley. It really seems like... Pop my collar out there, get a little Finn Balor going on. It really seems like Vince is starting to sour on Roman Reigns, or at least the idea of Roman Reigns being able to captivate the fans. I mean, it's taken, 3 years now for him to realize the fans just aren't behind Roman Reigns. Well, what can you say about that? But with Bobby Lashley coming up, Vince was always really high on Bobby Lashley. As we may recall, it was Bobby Lashley versus Umaga, which was Donald Trump versus Vince McMahon. And then Bobby Lashley just kind of disappeared. So with the recent re-signing of Bobby Lashley, he didn't go to NXT, which was kind of expected, but it's almost like that's the rule now. Is like everybody has to go to NXT unless it's a very, very special reason, like AJ Styles and the Good Brothers. So bringing Bobby Lashley up to the main roster with the idea of pushing him as the next big Brock Lesnar match, on paper it sounds great, and I think a lot of us have expected it. You know, it is the smart match. The problem with it is Bobby Lashley is getting zero response from the crowd. It's like, oh, that's great, Bobby Lashley's here, okay. And, especially when you're pairing him with Braun Strowman. Strowman's the one that's getting the big responses. So, it's a little mind-boggling to me. I would not want Bobby Lashley anywhere near someone who's mega over. I would want to pair him off with someone who is extremely hated. So, while Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are great heels, the fans actually love them as heels. So I'm not sure if Bobby Lashley would actually get over against these guys. Bobby Lashley versus Jinder Mahal, maybe, since Jinder has natural heat. That might have been a good opening feud for Bobby Lashley. The other idea would just be turning Roman Reigns heel and having Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns. Oh, we're having an earthquake. fall off the table. Still going. Anyway, still kind of shaking, but yeah, that would be one of my biggest things. I would probably turn Reigns heel sooner than later. I mean, why not? They would kind of give Lashley a little bit of a push. I don't know. I mean, they really brought him in at such a bad time. If you'd brought him in specifically to dethrone Brock Lesnar, maybe when before this recent Roman Reigns thing, it maybe it may have worked better. Brock coming out saying I've beaten everyone there is to beat, and then Bobby Lashley show up right then. That might have worked. Anyway, I'm getting a little sidetracked, but the point of this match is teaming Bobby Lashley with Braun Strowman against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to get him over. I just don't think it's going to work, especially when Lashley doesn't seem to be getting it. I mean, you had Braun Strowman this past Raw. He come out to save everybody's ass. Basically, everybody started double teaming, triple teaming Braun, and Braun was getting ready to do the big throw off thing, and Lashley actually goes over and pulls somebody off. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? You're messing up the big spot. But it made Lashley look like a Superman, and he just looked like no selling out there for everybody. And I was just wondering, like, dude, what the hell are you doing? But Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman definitely going to win this match. That's that. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. I don't see a title change here. Randy Orton maybe will get his at last heel turn off of this. I don't know. Has he turned heel? Has he ever been face? I think he sucks as a face, so it is what it is. I don't expect anything amazing out of that matchup. Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, and again, here's another return clause matchup for the title. I expect Nia to retain. I don't expect anything major out of that match as well. Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass. Now this one may actually steal the show, just depending on Big Cass. Really, I mean, I expect us to get a good Daniel Bryan matchup out of this. It's a classic Goliath, David versus Goliath matchup. What worries me about this match is Big Cass's first match back. If they're going to push this as a long-standing feud, I don't see Bryan winning this matchup. I don't know how you bring Big Cass back and job him out in his first match. I mean, it doesn't make very much sense. You would think they would bring Big Cass back and just feed him a couple of guys before getting a big matchup like Daniel Bryan, unless they're thinking about pushing Big Cass to the moon. And I don't think he's quite ready for that yet. I don't know what they're thinking for this one. I can't see Cass losing straight away coming back off this. Does it hurt Daniel Bryan to lose this matchup? I don't think so. I mean, honestly, he's been out for 3 years. But at the same time, he just broke the record for the longest time in a Royal Rumble. Big Cass tossed him out. It almost points towards a Daniel Bryan win. I just think it'll hurt Cass in the long run if he loses here, unless afterwards it's a quick pin by Daniel Bryan, and Big Cass gets some heat in return after he does a beatdown in the ring. And I guess that's where my money is going to be. Cass saving face by doing a big-ass beatdown. What do you think, Loose Cannon? That is some very interesting insight you have there. Of course, you are a SmackDown person right now. You're all blue. wearing the SmackDown colors. A little silver around there somewhere. That is, I really can't argue with that, but I'm going to go with mine. Seth Rollins defending the Intercontinental Championship against The Miz. This match would have huge implications if The Miz won, because the title would then go to SmackDown. I'm not sure why they booked this match to begin with. It seems rather redundant. I don't know. I mean, are we going to get stuff like this at every pay-per-view from now on? Does The Miz win, and the next pay-per-view he's going to defend it against Finn Balor? It's really hard to say at this point what WWE is thinking, because they're calling audibles at the very last minute all the time. And they're rebooking things on the fly. Undertaker versus Rusev. Undertaker versus Jericho. Undertaker versus Rusev. So it's hard to say where senile Vince McMahon is going. I don't see the championship leaving Seth Rollins at this point. I say Rollins retains. And this just seems like a pointless filler match that should be Rollins versus Balor. But for whatever reason, it's not. Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. This could have been a Universal title match. Last minute, they decided not to strap Reigns after building him, shoving him down our throats for the last 3 years. Especially this last year, the big push for him to defeat Brock. Didn't happen at WrestleMania because they thought they were being smarky. We'll show those fans they think they know what's going on, but I'll switch it because they think they know what's going on, which was pretty much what happened. And then at the last minute, at the Greatest Royal Rumble, they said, everybody keeps booing Roman Reigns. I don't understand it. Even in Saudi Arabia, they're booing Roman Reigns. What could be causing that? Obviously, it's not our booking or our writing skills, because we know how to do that, right? It's Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. This is a very interesting matchup, especially since they moved Samoa Joe to SmackDown to protect him from Roman Reigns. So obviously, the smart thing to do is let's book that matchup. What do you think, Loose Cannon? Yeah, it was very stupid of them to do this, in my opinion. Out of all the matches they could have booked, this should be Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe, really. It's not. It is what it is. Roman Reigns has lost the last 2 matches against Brock Lesnar. Obviously, Reigns is going to come out the winner here. Whether that is by pinfall, by countout, possibly a double countout, still protects Reigns from a loss. Even if it's Roman Reigns getting the win after the match is over by beating up Samoa Joe, maybe. It's hard to say. I don't see this match going to a point where Samoa Joe is dominant and gets a decisive victory over Roman Reigns. Even if he wins, I expect it'll be dirty, cheap. That Roman Reigns will come out shining more than not. With that said, what a great moment to bring back Dean Ambrose. I'm not sure what condition he's in. I've heard he's still in pretty bad shape. And maybe in really crappy shape, I've heard, as far as physical shape. But this would be a great moment for it. Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe's the one who took out Dean Ambrose. It would be a good moment, whether it happens or not. I think this match in idea is supposed to be a teaser for what can come down the road. I think it's poorly put together. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, no DQ matchup. I'm not sure why they booked it a no DQ matchup with Shinsuke delivering low blows all the time, with the idea of Styles maybe just being able to get retribution. This is, I don't know. It seems like a very poorly booked gimmick matchup. Whereas we'd get something like this before, and it would be like the gimmick match would be essentially that both sides, one side has been cheating all the time, and the other side wants revenge. Even though this is for the championship, so it should be like Shinsuke is suckering AJ into this sort of matchup where he would have an edge, and AJ accepts because he wants revenge. I haven't felt that on the show, even at the match at the Greatest Royal Rumble where they try to sell AJ wanting to get revenge and losing it and going against Nakamura. It felt rushed, it felt out of place, and I don't know what happened in this last SmackDown, but I don't feel that they have built up to this point organically like we used to see in wrestling. This feels rushed. I don't know. Maybe if we had a different gimmick matchup in between this, it doesn't really make too much sense to me. But here it is, and where will it go from here? I don't know. I really don't expect Shinsuke to pick up the title. I don't think they feel like Shinsuke is the guy. I think if they didn't strap Shinsuke at this pay-per-view, he's not going to get the belt for a good while. So with that said, if they do strap Shinsuke, I'm not sure where that leaves. There's talk of Samoa Joe AJ Styles feud. Maybe that is to get AJ out of the title picture so Shinsuke can run with the belt for a little bit against somebody. Honestly, if you were to take the belt off of Styles and put it on Shinsuke, I would almost turn Samoa Joe face with the crowd response that he's getting. The fans never boo Samoa Joe, really. They're always chanting for him. They like this Road Warrior badass mentality that guys like Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe have. It would make sense to turn Samoa Joe face against Shinsuke Nakamura. Would probably be the best draw they could do. Despite the dream match of AJ versus Shinsuke. And if you have Daniel Bryan tied up in this big Cass feud, I don't see how that would prep him at all for a feud with Shinsuke. So I really think this match could go either way. AJ or Shinsuke could take the title. If you're going to do it for Shinsuke, it needs to be now. Otherwise, it's going to get played out, and you're going to make him look like a loser, which they have kind of done since he went to the main roster. They haven't done him any favors whatsoever. With that said, that's the entirety of the card. You ain't got nothing else to say, Loose Cannon. Come on. You've been quiet the whole show. It's not like you. It's not like you. With all that said, I think SmackDown is geared up to have some outstanding feuds. You have Samoa Joe there now, who is a big game changer. If they have big plans for Samoa Joe, this would be it. A feud with AJ, Joe picks up the win. A feud with Daniel Bryan, Joe picks up the win, and then go on to feud for the world title. Would make the most sense. That he would, after beating the two most over guys in the company. Absolutely. With the recent heel turn of Rusev, I would definitely turn, and Shinsuke, I would definitely turn Samoa Joe face. I think after the AJ Daniel Bryan feuds, Joe takes the strap off Shinsuke and then feuds with Rusev would be ideal. But I don't know if we would actually go that route. Who knows with WWE? They have a lot of big names over there now. The Miz is over there too. A top heel could go face at any time. So SmackDown is really geared up to to headline a lot of pay-per-views with these big feuds if they just write it right and don't rush things. It's kind of like, this feud has really been pushed as the dream match, and then they really pulled the rug out from under it. Like, they're going that route, and then they did a complete 180 and say, hey, let's turn Shinsuke heel. So we've got the fallout of that. It's I don't know. I don't care for the no speak English gimmick. It's too comical, which you don't want a heel to be comical. We can get into that on another show. But a funny heel is not a hated heel, and you want to be hated. You don't want the fans to be laughing with a heel. You want to be either despising a heel or laughing at a heel, not with a heel. You don't want it to be funny. And so far they've made Shinsuke funny. Again, even more so than when he was face. So it is what it is. I think they might set Shinsuke up for a failed title run if they go down this path and do strapping. But there is your Backlash predictions. Sam Keola, the Wrestling Connoisseur, with sorry, I knocked you over, Loose Cannon. Let's just set you back up on your little stool here. Loose Cannon for mid-card mana, and Loose Cannon may get her voice back and have some predictions of her own. And we, like we talked last one, are sometimes funnier and more interesting together when we do these predictions than by ourselves. So we're here together now, and Loose Cannon didn't have nothing to say this time. So for Loose Cannon, Sam Keola, the Wrestling Connoisseur. I don't know what else to say. Backlash this Sunday. Let us know what you think, and subscribe so the Loose Cannon will do DDP Yoga from the deck of the Cruise of Jericho. We need 100 subscribers, and I think we're only at like 20 something. So hit that button, subscribe. What do you got to lose except live DDP Yoga from the Cruise of Jericho? Do it. Next time, maybe we won't have an earthquake. I don't know.